Bring my sons from afar, my daughters and daughters, while you waiting. Down in the west it seems your life frustrating. Down in the west it seems the haters keep hating. Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice. Yeah. Well, don't be afraid, for I am with the eye. I will bring thy children from the east and gather thee from the west. I shall say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from afar, my daughters and daughters, while you waiting. Down in the west it seems your life frustrating. Down in the west it seems the haters keep hating. Africa awake, creators start creating. Then we'll be repatriating. Me and me woman love making. Leave Babylon and them hating. One love Africa and Jamaican. Then we'll be repatriating. Whole family them celebrating. Leave Babylon and them hating. One love Africa and the Haitian. The story written in my DNA. Them up my four parents never get no pay. But down in a them system. In that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, glory and honor in the name of His chosen Queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Chasmach Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm an entertainment attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, and right now I'm an actionist and the host of the Lion Voice. Welcome to the Lion Voice Network, and welcome to another or the latest show on the network, which is Lion Voice Live, where we bring content live and direct. We are bringing Rastafari top quality content, reasoning with people out there who bring value. We're not into the pasa. We're not into the controversy, all of these things. We are looking at how we are going to be building for a Rastafari future. And in doing so, there are certain pillars within our community. And I have one such pillar here with I and I today. I'm honored to really call this sistren a sistren of I and I, you know. Her kingman and this sistren have been a great strength to the Bansu family. And even though right now she's 4 hours away in New York City, I see the sistren mainly on the continent of Africa, in Ghana. And it warms my heart every time I see the sistren, because it shows I am on the right path when you interact with ones who are doing the right thing and have that example. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about a Rastafari attorney. I'm talking about an immigration attorney, one of the top immigration attorneys in the country. When we have immigration matters, this is who I refer them to. I'm talking about a mother. I'm also talking about a businesswoman. I'm also talking about someone who has been a wonderful counselor to many, not only within our own house of the Bubble Shanty, but throughout Rastafari, a shining star amongst our matriarchs and a long-time frontline soldier on the battlefield and in the army of Rastafari. It's a great honor to welcome Empress Marina Blake. Empress Marina.
Good evening, my Lord. Blessed love, honor, and majesty.
Give thanks, give thanks. How did I do with the intro? Did I?
You did exceptionally well. Better than I could have expected, better than I deserve.
and forgive I just want my audience, big up the Lion Pride, you know, all of the people who subscribe to the channel. I call them the Lion Pride. I just want the item to know that if you see us laughing and think this is my good sister, and so a lot of history. We have a lot of shared works through the Haile Selassie Foundation for Law and Society. We're going to get into all of those things, but I know a lot of the audience may not be familiar, so I just want the to just give us a background. Who is Empress Marina Blake? Where were you born? And just a brief trajectory of your journey into Rastafari.
Listen, love to the audience. Greetings. Yes, I am Empress Marina Blake. I was born in Jamaica, West Indies, and I migrated to the United States as a young teenager. My mom went first, and then she sent for her children. And so I finished high school in the US, and then I went on to college, so forth and so on. But then I met my kingman, in my late teens, and my life took a different course, one that I had not foreseen, nor could my parents have foreseen it. And so it took me in a different direction. In fact, my kingman, priest God, Bobo Shanti priest, when we met, obviously he was just learning about Rastafari, but Bobo Shanti culture, and it was appealing to us, and he brought it to me, and before long we moved to the foundation. We moved after a few years. We moved from New York, and we went to live on the Boba Shanti Foundation at 10 Miles Bay, and we spent a few years there. I was taken in by the culture because I liked the discipline that it imposed. I liked the ideology. I liked the emphasis on unity and brotherly and sisterly love, and on in terms of the way we carried ourselves, the way we were supposed to present ourselves, conduct ourselves as royal, in our speech, in our dress, in our behavior. I found that very appealing. And so I have stuck with the Baba Shanti culture over the years. I still find it is a great inspiration. I think the message is powerful, particularly, man of right is God in flesh. It gives us
Yes.
something to aspire to. We work towards bettering ourselves, knowing that we are the God that King Emmanuel taught us. That we are the God, that we can achieve that status by our action and our behavior.
Yes. And I would say from my observation of the eye over the years that the eye has exemplified what the biblical races would look at Proverbs 31, the virtuous woman. They would see a woman that's very dynamic, in terms of service, not only domestic, but go out there and purchase a field, go out there and be able to harness. Where did that drive come from? Was that prior to your connection with Rastafari? Have you always been like that as a child, or is it something that you've cultivated over the years?
Well, I've been like that from a child because my family background, they're very industrial, right, and disciplined in terms of striving for success and for advancement. And so I got that. That was instilled in me from a very early age. But I also had a love of reading. They couldn't find me. I used to climb the plum tree, and I was up there, reading, and they're looking for me. Or I'll be under my bed with a flashlight reading. And I feel so sorry. My aunt and my aunt-in-law, they used to say, she's not going to get a husband. She does not. She doesn't want to do domestic. She doesn't want to do any kind of housework. She's not going to get a husband. My sister, on the other hand, was a cook, was a bake. She baked. She did all of those things, and all I wanted to do was read.
Read. Wow. That is powerful. That is powerful. So um, we want to just transition from that to living. A lot of people hear about Bobo Hill. A lot of Bobo Shanti are throughout the world, as the I know, even in Ghana, other places, but very few have actually lived on the foundation. Just give us a little picture of what that was like living on the phone. And I'm saying, I'm assuming this was when Prince Emmanuel was there.
Yes, indeed. It was back in the 80, 81
Okay.
that we left New York. My Kingman and I, we left New
Yes.
York and we moved to the foundation. We already had one child, and I was pregnant with the second child. And so
Okay.
the second child was born on the foundation in October of 1981.
Powerful.
And because I went there pregnant, I was allowed to, I was free to be on the courts, because when a woman is pregnant, because she's not, issuing, so then she's free to be on the court all the time. And as most people know, in fact, one of the identifying feature of Boba Shanti culture is the 21-day principle. I think that's the
Okay.
most important thing that everyone knows about Boba Shanti is the 21-day principle.
Please elaborate, because I know there will be some who are not familiar with the 21-day principle.
Right. So a woman, she when she's going through her time, she is required to stay in her quarters for 21 days, for a total of 21 days. And during that time, she does not interact with any. She's not free, and therefore she cannot interact with people who are free, because if to do so would be to pollute them, and
Okay.
then they too would have to quarantine themselves someplace until they become free. So while she's in house, she hoists a red flag on her gate so that everyone knows that she's unfree, and you cannot converse with her because she's not to be seen or heard. So you
Okay.
cannot converse with her. She can send messages out if she has children who are in house with her. They can take out her message, or she can convey messages to people outside through the ministering angel, because the system is set up to facilitate that lifestyle. So you
Okay.
have, while the empresses are in house going on their 21-day journey, another empress who's a ministering angel who comes by and who takes, who brings them stuff or takes messages back, back and forth between the empress in house and the people outside. She wants to communicate with her kingman, with her kids, or with anyone else, other empresses who are free, or with everyone else, anyone else. So she would pass the message on through the ministering angel, and the ministering angel, she brings your meals. She would bring your meals. I think we've lost. Right, sorry. She would bring
Okay.
your meals, and as well as Brethren would bring water, right? Because we used to fetch water. Brethren would fetch water and bring it for empresses. When our empress is inside, she would put her drum, at the gate, and there would be a special, section of the gate where the brethren is able to, um, deposit the water, and
Okay.
yeah, so it's a system.
Very, no, very, very disciplined. I didn't even know
Yes,
the intricacies. I'm
yes,
learning right now, because I know
yes,
about the 21-day principle. How, I'm thinking about Generation Z, the millennials listening to us speaking about this. What, in terms of the benefits, would you say of such a rigorous? I'm sure it's, there's a discipline, there's time to really
yes.
self-reflection, there's that camaraderie around the system. If you could talk about maybe from the eye perspective, some of the benefits of such a strict system.
Yes, indeed. The 21-day principle forced us as empresses to form a close bond with each other, a
Okay.
sisterhood, a true sisterhood, because we had to look out for each other. We had to take care of each other. Moreover, your time inside does indeed allow you time to reflect, for introspection. For the first 7 days while you're issuing, you cannot touch the Bible, but after a certain number of days, you may. You may touch the Bible, you can read your Bible. And so it's right, it really gives you time to commune with the God, with the internal God, and to reflect on your life and yourself, and the principles, and to examine whether or not you're living up to the principles. One of the one of the things that the Baba Shanti order emphasizes is the piousness of the woman,
Hmm.
the virtue of the woman. It
Hmm.
is that is stressed, So when a woman is separated from the main community for 21 days, it really does not allow much time for frivolity. You
Yes.
understand me? Or for gallivanting around and maybe getting, going astray.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. So in that regard, it is very good
And I
in
always
terms of
admire, in the same way that we would look at Nation of Islam and we would look at the Fruit of Islam and we look at how they're sistering. I always admired that discipline within the Bobo Shanti house or the Bobo Shanti order within Rastafari, at gatherings when you see how the sistering them hold their order, when you see how the brethren them hold them order. I think there's definitely something to be said about having these kind of preceptical orders within the family of Rastafari. So one of the things I wanted to touch on is that there is not just a ordinary Rastafari sistering in the sense that you pursued your education beyond the university level. You went into law school to become one of, in my estimation, one of the preeminent immigration attorneys in the country that not only is taking on cases in terms of the paperwork, but also doing litigation, which is it's a very unique skill set in terms of the attorney profession. Talk to us about your journey into law school, and then I want us to talk about immigration law, some of the challenges that face immigrants, particularly from the Caribbean as well. So if you hold on one second, I just got a note. If you can adjust your position a little, let's say you're a little off center there. The other way, the other way. Okay, okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. Um, so talk to us about your journey into law school, what that was like, because you are now within the Bobo Shanti order, I'm assuming, right?
yes, yes. But
Yes.
let
So
me sorry.
yes. So as
Let me
Bobo
just
Shanti, go ahead.
Yes, let me just conclude regarding
Yes.
the 21-day principle.
Yes.
It is an effective form of birth control.
Okay.
Yes, extremely effective, and so it helped to keep the population at a manageable level. Remember, we are feeding people.
Yes.
The foundation is set up, so it is not. There must be limitations. There are limitations because we
Yes.
simply do not have the resources to feed
Yes.
it, beyond a certain amount. And so, in that regard, the 21-day principle really serves to keep the population in check. um,
Yes.
the other thing too, when you're free, you your kingman, if he is to come to you, then he cannot minister, right? Yeah, and so that too is sort of it it serves as some type of a restraint and deterrent,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Because we're still human beings. We're still human beings. Let's be real.
And yeah,
So
so
Prince Emmanuel was very wise. He
in
was,
check and control what needs to be controlled.
yes.
Um, right. So yes. So there's that. Now the downside of the 21-day principle is that it does not allow for the growth and the development of the empress beyond. The Yes, we understand. You need to be pious, you need to be humble, you need to be virtuous, and all of those things. But there are other values that a woman can bring to that women in general bring to a culture, right?
Yes.
Women is that's 50% of your human resources. And some
Yes.
people argue if you're locking away 50% of your human resources for 21 days each month, you are doing yourself a disservice. I have always admired the Nyabingi House for the freedom that it allowed its empresses to pursue higher education without stigma. I have always talked about that.
Okay.
That's something that Bobo Shanti needs to look into and to examine, because you cannot deprive girl children of their education. And in imposing a 21-day principle, we do exactly that, and
Okay.
it has a negative impact in the long run. In the long
Okay.
run, that type of life, I think it can it is best lived on a foundation setting, because
Yes.
you cannot replicate it outside. It is unrealistic and you find a lot of men, a lot of brethren. Even in Ghana, can't find any women, can't find any, the Ghanaian, because they are not willing to live the 21-day principle.
Yes.
It is unrealistic, and as I said, it serves, while we understand that it serves a purpose,
Yes.
and a very good purpose, but there is a downside to it, and it's that it does not allow for the full development of the empresses in
If
terms of advancing their education and learning skills and being self-sufficient, because most of the empresses had kingman. They had
yes.
someone to minister to you, and if you didn't have a kingman, if you did not have a kingman, the other brethren would minister to you. You know what I'm saying? They didn't
Yes.
have to be in a romantic relationship with you, but they saw themselves as your brother. So if
Yes.
you're in house as a woman with no kingman, brethren will bring water for you, and minister to you otherwise.
Okay.
So send you fruits, send you little spices,
Nice.
newspaper, whatever, as your brother. So that right, so it works in that setting because everything is so in sync. Everything is coordinated and in sync. But when you're outside, it is a challenge. It's a big challenge, and in fact, it's a setback in many places. Because if I were adhering the 21-day principle, I would not have been able to go to law school.
Yes.
I
Yes.
would have been
Yes.
able to. The
So
Sabbath is also a big part of the Baba Shanti culture. The Sabbath, serious Sabbath keepers, from
yes.
Friday evening 6 o'clock until Saturday evening 6 o'clock. Very serious on the foundation.
Even to this day, because I
Even
know I work with Baba Shanti Brethren, I know that that order is still maintained. I'm getting another note. Can you look at the camera? Is the camera there? Yes. There we go. There we go. All right. So um, this is very powerful because you're giving both sides, and I want everyone to notice, very skillfully you articulated the benefits, but you're also very practical in terms of highlighting some potential areas where evolution is required. And we have to recall that His Majesty, in the building of Ethiopia, it was never static. You know, His Majesty, when the Constitution was first issued, for example, all of the lower house of Parliament was selected by His Majesty. In the revised Constitution, when the people had more education, he allowed the people to elect their officials. So it shows that as we build Zion, or we are building this new reality, we have to be willing to evolve as the times to change to, and we know that the church opposed a lot of the reforms that His Majesty, in terms of education, co-ed education in Ethiopia, Empress Menen and Haile Selassie were opposed by imposing, but at the same time they saw that to develop the nation rapidly, we would have to make some adjustments in terms of that strict religious education, because just like the Bobo Shanti in Ethiopia, there were very strict restrictions on women in terms of how they could matriculate through the society. So I definitely give thanks, for you, or for the eye being able to articulate it in that manner. So you spoke about having um, to modify the 21-day principle in order to attend law school. What was the calling that brought you into law school? And just talk to us about the journey into immigration law in particular.
well, it was actually a friend of mine. I used to work for an Italian bank, and I met someone there who was into law, and he actually encouraged me. He said he thought that I had the making of an attorney. I liked to research, and and I liked problem solving as well. And he saw something in me, and he encouraged me. He said, "Why don't you consider law?" And I started looking into it, and that's how I am. Yeah.
Okay. And why immigration?
Well, I didn't start out doing immigration work. In fact, I started out doing surrogacy work,
Okay.
and then several people from my mother's church contacted me about immigration. And then the calls for immigration assistance in the Caribbean community was so loud and it was so clear that I naturally transitioned to that and away from surrogacy work. And yeah, it was more interactive, and
Yes.
the community needed my help, and so I got into that. I got into immigration work. I when I first came out of law school, though, I was working for a firm, a small firm in Jersey, and it was actually my kingman who encouraged me. It is he who, at his behest and his prodding and his encouragement, that I should open my own practice.
Okay.
Yes, yes, because he was always that type of a person. I was more, conventional, and
Yes.
he was less so. And
Let
so,
us take some time and just big up Jabi. We take some time and big up Jabi because he's a virgin where really, community man, always at service, always bringing positive vibration. Since I've met the brethren, I feel like I've known him my whole life, because he really trods with that warmth. You know what I mean? He really trod with that warmth. So, make with us big up Jabi, you
yes,
know.
he's a peace and love. He's a peace and love type of
Yes,
person. He has no cruelty in him. He's not cruel. He's not unkind. Yes, and he's very forgiving. You
yes,
could say you could say the worst thing about him, and next week he'll see you and heal you. And if I try to remind, if I try to remind him and nudge him and say, "You don't remember, say it's Brethren did that once about you." Like, no, that's his burden to bear. I am not carrying it. That's what he would say. I am not carrying that burden for him. He must
yes,
carry it. He alone must carry it.
yes, yes, yes.
That
So,
is exactly how he operates.
so you went from being in a law firm, working with other attorneys, to establishing your own. And was it at were you doing immigration at this other law firm, or you started when you?
No, we were not doing immigration at all. I had no exposure to immigration law, as I said. We were doing some surrogacy work, and I was in that department.
Okay,
And that's
okay,
why when I started out doing surrogacy work. And then,
okay.
as I said, because the calls were coming in from the Caribbean community for representation in the immigration context, I, you know, I just transitioned to that because that's where the need was, and it took off. And I love immigration law at work. It is much more complicated than people would imagine. It is
Yes,
more, because most people think that it's just about completing some forms and submitting them, and then that's it. But there are so many issues that come into play. There are people with fraud issues, people with criminal, with arrest and criminal convictions, people with multiple marriages. In
hmm,
fact, we just won a case up in Maryland there. A client, someone had referred this individual to me, and her husband, she's a U.S. citizen, and she had filed for her husband, and the case had been held up for about 4 years. Someone told her about me, and she came to me. And what they were alleging is that, well, when I say they, I mean the government, right?
hmm,
U.S. Department of Homeland Security, which is the cabinet agency responsible for administering the immigration laws of the United States. And so they were saying that the man's prior marriage was not a bona fide marriage, in fact, a valid marriage, but it was not bona fide. So in order to confer an immigration benefit on an individual, a marriage must be both valid and bona fide. And the validity part is that you go before someone who's licensed to
yes,
right. And so it's valid, right? We have a marriage certificate that says, yes, I went before the county clerk, or I went before a minister, and I'm married, right? But then the bona fides comes into play. You must prove that the purpose of the marriage is not to evade the immigration laws of the United States. So it's
hmm,
a real marriage then, as opposed to
yes,
what Jamaican people call a business marriage. So, right. So once they make a finding, it is immigration is punished in certain ways. Um, because once a finding has been made that you were involved in a fraudulent marriage, then
Mm-hmm.
then no subsequent petition submitted on your behalf can be approved. So let us say, for the sake of argument, my lord, you were involved in a fraudulent marriage with Mary Brown, a U.S. citizen, and you were undocumented and with no status. And then the marriage fell apart, or when you went to the interview after all the filing had been done, you went to the interview, and Mary Brown said to the officer, "You listen," and the officer is pushing, pressing and prodding Mary Brown, and this is not a real marriage because he doesn't even live there. He's getting mail at other addresses and so forth and so on. And she said, "Okay, okay, okay." He paid me $20,000 to marry him, to give him a green card, and so she withdraws her I-130, and you are now, you're in a lurch.
Wow.
Right? So let us say later on, let us say you had a child who was born in the US and the child now turns 21 and is able to file for you. But you can't get a green card because you're stuck. You are now disqualified from any
Yes.
future
Wow.
immigration benefit because of the fraudulent marriage. So immigration takes fraudulent marriages very, very seriously. Fraudulent marriage, alien smuggling, and drug conviction, false claim to U.S. citizenship. There are no worse crimes that a person can commit. False claim to
Yes.
U.S. citizenship, there is no getting around that. Big
Yes.
drug conviction, can't escape that.
Wow.
Um, Alien smuggling people into the United States unless they're your family member, and they have to be your immediate family member, your spouse, your children, your mother-in-laws, things like that. Then right, and it's not for pay without remuneration, and then there's a waiver for that. There's a forgiveness for that. But if you're just involved in alien smuggling, bringing people into the United States for money, then that's a very serious charge, and you cannot. It is difficult, if not impossible, to get around that. So there are some things that they take very seriously, and the fraudulent marriage is one of them. And so when I see those cases, when those cases come to me, I know that I'm going to have to work diligently and even have to backtrack some of the things that a person may have said during interview, or you can show that there was malice. Mary Brown was mad at you on the day of the interview because you refused to buy her what she wanted or something
Okay.
went on. So we have to go back and we have to impeach her testimony.
Wow.
You understand? And this will be 10 years after you and Mary Brown has divorced and gone your own way. It's
Yes.
always helpful if you can go to Mary Brown's family member, her father, her mother, her sister, her brother, and get them to submit an affidavit stating that the marriage was indeed, bona fide, and that the daughter, Mary Brown, she is a vindictive person and is
Oh wow.
consistent with her character, so forth and so on, to get you over that hump, and then to yes, to
So,
to
so
not
you have to deal with a lot of family dynamics. I
yes,
know you've heard probably every
absolutely,
story
yes.
in the book over the
Oh,
years.
I am telling
You
you, I
know,
could write a book
uh,
about the various stories. And there's also a VAWA petition that a lot of people are aware of. If you are married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, and you have been abused, you can get a green card. As an abused spouse,
okay.
right? You
So,
can
so
even
these are key. I want everyone just taking these gems. We have one of the top immigration attorneys in the country. Iman said that. Okay, on the Lion Voice here. So a lot of our people, America's our biggest market. I got another note from the producer to look at the camera, square up with the camera there, because you're looking at the monitor.
oh,
Yeah, so
okay, I
look
see.
at yes,
All right,
yes,
very
look,
well.
yes, look at the and square up a little bit. All right. We're gonna get it right, people, because this is very important. This is historic. I was telling someone this is the first time two Rastafari attorneys have had a reasoning on a platform like this in history. So we're gonna go deep. Cause remember, this is a repatriation we want to really touch on, because the woman that you see before you here is someone who's living repatriation. It's not just a chant or an idea. As I said, 4 hours up the road, but every time I see the eye is in Ghana. This is how I and I, I and I connect. And we've seen each other, one and two or a few times since COVID. So active, in terms of back and forth. So let's get forward to the immigration. What are some of the common challenges that face the Caribbean diaspora? These are some of the key things that you are letting people know that they are is battling day to day, and what things they need to do to prepare.
Well, a lot of times people enter the country without inspection. And if you enter without inspection, even if you marry a US citizen who subsequently files a petition for you, you're unable to adjust. You're on, and by adjustment of status means you're unable to get your green card while you're here because you have no entry. Now, if we
Yes.
can show there's something known as grandfathering, and if we can show that a petition was filed in your behalf before a certain date, which is April 30th of 2001, and you were physically present in the United States on December 21st, 2000, and a number of other things line up, then you'd be able to adjust under something known as 245I by paying a $1,000 penalty.
Okay.
Otherwise, if, let us say you're married to someone in the military,
Yes.
then you can do something known as parole in place. So you enter the country without inspection. You marry John Brown. A woman married John Brown. John Brown is in the army. Well, not just the army, the U.S. military, the army, the navy, the marine, the air force, the coast guard, whatever, right? Or he used to be. He's a vet, but he would have had to have had an honorable discharge
Yes.
in order for him to confer this benefit on you. So you'll be applying. So you enter the country. So I enter the country without inspection. I'm Marina Blake, and I come in, and I'm living here, and I meet John Brown, and John Brown is a veteran, of the U.S. Air Force, let's say, um, and so he files a petition for me. He
Mm-hmm.
files a petition for me, and after the petition has been approved, the next step is the adjustment of status. But I can't do that yet because I have not, I have no entry. I have no
Okay.
entry, right? I didn't get a visa, I didn't come in on a visa, and I wasn't paroled into the United States. So what I do is I apply for something known as a parole in place because my husband is a veteran,
Okay.
right? Or let's say he has a child. My stepchild is currently enlisted so I use that as the basis. So it's a legal fiction, right? So
Yes.
they grant you an entry. They pretend that you were admitted at the border, and they grant you, the I-94, which is the evidence of the admission or a
Okay.
parole. That's right. And so they grant you that, and so now I'm able to adjust status in the United States without having to depart. In the event that I'm married to someone who is not a veteran and I have no claim to making an application for a PIP, parole in place, then the next best thing would be for me to apply for a provisional waiver and then travel abroad once the waiver has been approved. Because if you enter the United States and then you've been in the United States for a certain number of time and then you subsequently depart, you have triggered something known as unlawful presence.
Okay.
Which means, and if you leave the country unlawful presence, you're not able to come back for 3 years or for 10 years, depending on how long you stayed. Because even if you enter the US on a visa and you overstay the visa, right, and you subsequently depart, you're unable to return. And so you
Interesting.
need a waiver to overcome the unlawful presence. So you do the provisional waiver here, and then you travel abroad, and you visa process, and then you come back and you get your green card. So there are different ways to maneuver, and you have to look at the situation. You
In
also have the situation.
No, I was gonna say in this modern time, is that still common for people to be coming to America without any visa or any? Are you still seeing a lot of those cases in this modern time?
Extremely common. Extremely common. I do not know how they do it, but there are ways and means. Listen, it is an entire industry built on people coming in
Wow,
without.
wow.
I had a client many years ago. He was in deportation, and while you're in deportation, you're not supposed to leave the country. Otherwise, you'll be seen as self-deporting. And he said to me, oh, he wanted to go to Jamaica to look at some of his property or whatever. And I said to him, no, you cannot travel, and you must not travel. And I am talking to him, like a month or so later, and I'm hearing these like waves are, lashing against the rocks, and I said, whoa, you're not in New York. You sound like you're in a. Then I said, like, sound like you're on an island, like a Caribbean island, maybe Jamaica, and he was silent. And I'm just saying to myself, oh my God. And of course, I can't say, I'm not saying anything more. And then 2 weeks later, I see him, and you just there's a way.
There's a
There
way.
is
Wow.
absolutely a way. There's a way. Yeah,
Wow.
it's an industry.
It's an industry, and it's so important because a lot of us, particularly Rastafari in America, have some connection with the Caribbean. This has been something that has plagued us in terms of development because a lot of brethren and sisters found themselves without status. Empress Marina has helped a lot of even ones that we know in our community have gone through, and she's been able to, help a lot of situations. So this is a woman that has so much love, a sister with so much love in the community because it's one of the greatest joys when you can adjust someone's status that they can now seek employment, they can now get a bank account. Talk about that. You know what?
Yes, yes, it is so fulfilling. I mean, if you hear the praises that we get. There's this woman from Bangladesh who used to just call my daughter, and well, she doesn't speak English much, but her granddaughter would call and just like in the morning, I said, my grandmother's praying for you. My grandmother, because she had a kid that had been languishing for years. And in fact, she has family members who are lawyers who are assisting her, and they couldn't get the kids. They couldn't get it approved. Just denial after denial. And they contacted us, and we took over the case, and we got the woman her green card. We got the elderly woman her green card, and so we get a plethora of cases now from these Bangladeshi lawyers. They just send us cases that they used to grapple with that they cannot manage because they really don't do immigration law. They do personal injury. But as I
Okay.
said, a lot of times people are misled. They think that immigration is simple, that it is not complicated. And if you can read and fill out a form, you're fine. And it is anything but the jazz match.
Well,
In fact, the
that's why
other
I
day
say the
the jazz match
immigration
Lord,
cases.
he contacted me. He
Yes.
said he said to me, I have a case for you. He said this one is above my pay grade, so I'm sending it to you. He said
Yes,
2 days
and
ago.
that is what we do. She's referring to our other colleague, the Chasmas George, who I work closely with at the Rose Law Firm, Rastafari own law firm. And we send all of the immigration cases to Empress
The
Marina because
difficult ones, the
the
difficult
difficult
ones,
ones, the
yes, the
Chasmas George
challenging ones.
immigration as well. But the challenging ones, we send them because, as I say, one of the top immigration attorneys in the country, and she's Rastafari. So this is something that we can feel proud about as Rastafari family globally. And this is why I wanted to bring Empress Marina here on the Lion Voice Network because we don't want to hide this. There might be a young sister watching this, out of the 5 sisters that watch the channel because it's mostly brethren, but there might be a young sister watching and say, you know what, I can do that. I can do that as well. And this is why it's so important because our children are online. They're not on the corner. They're not, with us anymore. So we have to highlight these things online. Now, I want to go into your first trip to Africa. How old was the I? What was the call like? Talk to I about
Well,
this.
my husband had visited Africa before me, and in fact, he decided that he was going to repatriate there. And I knew that that was not my frame of mind at that time. We had gone to the foundation and ended up having to come. And before going to the foundation in Jamaica, we had, gotten rid of our apartment, sold off our furniture, and all of that. And so this time around, I knew that I was not going to. We were older now; we had more children, so forth and so on. Moreover, my husband and I at that time we were we were living apart.
Yes.
So yeah, he took the lead. And he went, and I was here with the children, and you know um, eventually, he took the children also to visit, so forth and so on, and then eventually I went, and then the
How
rest is
how how
history.
old how old was the I the first time you touched on the soil, and what was that like? What was that experience?
Yes, it was very moving. I was an adult, and it was
Okay.
it was very moving. Uh, you know, it was awesome. It's almost like you couldn't believe it because you've always seen, Africa as somehow so far and outside of your reach. In fact, I mean, Prince Emmanuel, Boba Shanti culture brought Africa into focus for me. Made it like it's a reality. It can happen. Before it was always more sort of like you dream of that, you know, you dream of if you fantasize about that, but it
Yes.
didn't come into focus. And Boba Shanti culture brought it into focus for me. And when I finally stepped on the continent, I was actually, I was, yeah, it was awesome. Feeling was awesome. And, I started
About what year? About what year? Because
2002, 2000,
2002.
yes,
My first trip was 2004 to
okay.
Ghana, and I want to give the viewers context that Jabi, her Kingman, is one of the pillars in terms of the Rastafari community in Ghana. So by the time I had Maida and I first tried, and we were able to go to a gathering that the I Kingman was very prominent, and you know, so it's almost a royal situation in terms of the foundation that has been set, within your family, because Jabi does a lot of work with the youths then in terms of football, and so forth. So is a pillar. So because where I want to take the conversation now is this topic of repatriation. I did an interview with Sister Aini, daughter Aini, Naya Bingi daughter, who's also back and forth to the continent, and she blocked the sound that fire for repatriation. She feels like the movement has lost
Oh,
some of that fire. The eyes on the front line, there's probably no better person to have this conversation with right now than the eye, because you are here active in America, you're active in Jamaica, you know the landscape very well, but yet still you are building in Ghana, actively established businesses in Ghana. What do you say about repatriation right now?
well, I agree with Sister Aini, daughter Aini, a very powerful woman, strong Rastafari woman. I admire her greatly. I admire her greatly. She has her own style, and I love it.
Yes,
And she speaks her mind.
yes, she does. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. And go check out that interview, Lion Talk. Data
Yes,
is
yes,
very powerful.
yes. She's a powerful empress. Um,
Mhm.
yes. So, right. So repatriation, to be sure, I do not see the zeal that I used to see in Rastafari. I don't see the fire for repatriation that there once was, and I don't know what has happened. We have lost, we have lost our zeal. And I don't know. I'm sure there are a number of factors that can account for that. And I don't know in particular what it is. What's the main factor? One of the things, though, to recognize is that repatriation is a process rather than just a one-time event,
Yes,
right?
talk about it. Talk about it.
Yes, and it requires planning, and it requires years of planning, and it requires coordination. And if you're going to repatriate, you're going to need someone. If you're in the West, let us say you're in the United States and you want to repatriate to Ghana, you're going to need someone in Ghana. You're going to need a good friend in Ghana. You're going to need a close brother or sister in Ghana who is willing to assist you in finding land, in purchasing land, in maybe clearing the land for you. Going through it's not easy work. It is extremely frustrating, and you know, and the reception that we are expecting from our brothers and sisters on the continent is not always there. Sometimes
Okay.
they see us as opportunities, and people with money who certainly have more than they do, um, generally, in general, and so they're looking for a quick payday, and they may not always be as honest with us as they ought to be, and so that has brought about a lot of heartache and pain, and people losing their money buying land that the seller was not legally could not
Entitled
legally
to
have
sell. Yes,
conveyed because it
yes,
did not belong to them, or the title their title wasn't clear. And so there was a lot of those stories of people having lost lots and lots of money in those types of schemes. And so I'm saying that you need someone from the West here who has repatriated, and you're going to want to partner with that person in some capacity to say, this person is going to be representing your interest on the ground and doing the legwork, and it requires a lot of legwork up and down. You understand me? And let me tell you one thing: you need a vehicle when you're in Ghana, and I would imagine you would need one if you're in Ethiopia or Kenya or Uganda or South Africa. Because if you want to accomplish anything meaningful, you're going to need easy access in terms of getting around. Now, I
Yeah.
live here in New York. I do not have a vehicle. I do not have a car. I
Yes.
rely on public transportation. I take the subway and I
Hmm.
take the bus. And
Yes.
then if I need to go with my sons all have cars. So I rely on them. And if, all else fail, I'll jump in an Uber. So, but I don't have a car. Not so in Ghana. We could not function. We couldn't do what we're doing without vehicles.
Without a vehicle, and
And
you
we have
have
a
a
farm vehicle.
beautiful Kantanga
Yes,
made
Kantanka.
car, so you're
Yes,
supporting the
it's
local economy.
Ghana made car. Yes,
Yes.
we have a
Yes.
nice Kantanka, and then we have a farm vehicle, a little green pickup that Jabi uses for the farm, and then we have an older car, Mercedes Benz, an older car. Yeah,
Okay.
and right because we're doing a lot of work. We have drivers. We have to have drivers too because to help with the driving. That Jabi can't do it all on his own.
No.
And yes, so let me tell you something. It takes coordination, it takes planning, and it takes some finances. Let me tell you that
Talk
is
about the finance because
oh,
the
I
I
don't
has
want to I
invested
don't
a
want to discourage anyone, but,
yes.
but I am telling you, Ghana is not inexpensive.
No,
It's
we
not.
have to be real. We have to be
Yes,
real with the audience. This is the thing because my audience is 97% male. Most of them are younger than I. I have older brethren too. But one of the things that I talk about is the Rastafari man standard. And one of the things in that standard is the economics, because for far too long, we have neglected our economic development as brethren in particular, which is why we don't see as many sistren gravitating to the movement because women crave security, and the instability that comes from not being economically stable is not attractive. So brethren can have baby mothers, but we're not seeing families, stable Rastafari families being created. And part of that is because we have to be realistic that a family, a kingdom, which essentially a family is a kingdom, requires economics.
absolutely.
Children have to go to school. All of these things are the reality. Big up Queen Mother Moses in the comments. She said truth. Queen Mother Moses, get ready for the eye interview too. Because we have things to discuss as well. But we have to be so real in terms of and I want to big up my brethren Ras Makapi in Tanzania, because he said that the movement has almost glorified poverty, you know,
Absolutely.
and
So I'm
that
so glad he said that because I
yes,
want to address that. That's because when I said, I remember one day I said it to my daughter a few years ago. Why is it? Why are we losing the young people at such an alarming rate? Why aren't young people gravitating, even those who grew up in a Rastafari household, in large part? Why are they not? Why are young people not gravitating towards the movement? And she said because nobody's eager to sign up for poverty. That's what she said to
mm,
me. She was being facetious, of course. She said
yes,
that nobody is in a rush sign up for poverty and this glorification of poverty as though there's something noble and righteous about poverty. You understand? And that there's something evil about wealth and riches. We talk about King David, we talk about King Solomon, we talk about Job. Those people were wealthy,
wealthy
right?
Abraham,
Wealthy and righteous and righteous.
yes.
Right. So that wealth does not divest you of your righteousness.
And for the people who born the Bible, when you look at His Majesty was a wealthy man.
Yes,
Ras McCunnan was a wealthy man. Empress Menen was a
right.
wealthy woman. So,
So we need to stop
the
vilifying people who
yes,
are successful, economically successful. And yeah, and there's a lot of that in our community. And it must stop because unless we have not grown, we haven't learned anything. Because, and I do understand the fundamental sentiment that the system is corrupt, the system is lopsided, that it favors some people and it disfavors others, and I mean, hence the need for Rastafari. Rastafari rose up as a direct response to the oppression that people, depression in the system, particularly as it related to us black people in the West and throughout the world, because even in Africa, Africans are victimized. They are marginalized in their own country. They
Yes.
don't get the benefit of their resources. Outsiders, other people, other races have come into Africa and raped Africa of all of its wealth, its natural resources. And we are sitting around and allowing it to happen. Moreover, we don't have the wherewithal to even compete. So when the African, when our indigenous brothers and sisters, they're moved by money. They're moved by money. So when we come and we're saying, oh, we're your long um, lost brother and sister from the West, they're like, yeah, 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 moving along. And how much money you got? You understand? So that nobody wants to hear about victim. Nobody wants a victim. Nobody wants a crybaby.
Yes.
It's similar to when you're applying for, a school, right? You're trying to get into a particular college, and you have to write a personal statement. And then you can talk about the challenges that you may have faced in your life, but you can't stop there. You must talk about how you have overcome those challenges to get
Yes.
to reach where you are, right? So you can say, oh, my mother was a crack addict, oh, my father was a murderer, I was in prison, I was raised by wolves, and so forth and so on. And then what? And then what? You understand? So after I was raised by wolves, and then I didn't learn to walk upright until I was 15, whatever. You understand? And people want to know, how did you overcome the challenges that you faced in your life?
That is
Nobody
it.
wants a crybaby. And I remember I attended a function in Washington, D.C. several years ago, and I remember the African woman saying it was $100 per plate, right? And there were several people there from our community, the Rastafari community, who were seeking to get in without having to pay that fee. And the woman, I remember the woman saying that that's why we don't bother with you people.
Hmm.
Imagine that $100, you cannot afford $100 for to get into this function. That's why we don't even bother with you people.
Wow.
And then again to the other day when the citizenship in with respect to citizenship in Ghana, and what they were asking for was, I think it was 2,000 cities. And so the people who are at the helm of this thing, on the diaspora side, went back to the Ghanaians and asked if they could reduce it to 1,500, well, to 1,200, and they said no, and they said 1,500, and they said no, and they were disgusted. They were absolutely disgusted that we were unable to find 2,000 cities, which was about the equivalent of 200 US dollars. And
Yes.
so in their mind, they're like, these people can't find $200 to pay for this. Then why do we want them here? How
Hmm.
can they contribute to our society? Because let's face it, yes, long lost brothers and sisters are well and good, but you can't just flood people's country and you have nothing to contribute. You have to show that yes, I can come and I can add value. No, I had given a talk several years ago in Ethiopia. I think it was in 2019, and I was saying that we need to organize, outline a scheme by which we can facilitate repatriation, because not
Yes.
everyone is going to have the amount of money. So
Yes.
those who have money and can invest should be allowed, I believe. Let us say that Ghana is probably going to be one of those countries that's going to be oversubscribed. So let
Yes.
us say the African governments, the various African governments, decided that they are going to facilitate us in terms of repatriation. But there must be a system, because we can't just bomb rush the people's countries, right? Because we have to take into account the
Yes.
you know we have to take into account we are going to crash their system. right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Schools,
Remember to look into
hospitals,
the camera, Empress
yes,
Marina. Yes.
schools, hospitals, right?
Yes,
Roads, bridges,
yes,
waterways, right? So you can't have a million people coming in. Um, you understand? And no provision has rightly been made to
of course.
facilitate.
Of course.
So you will have to set up a program, and then maybe you say, "Here's what we need," because Ghana is going to be one of those countries. As I said, will be oversubscribed. People will want
Ram.
to. Well, you're right.
Ram.
Want to go to Ghana more
Yes.
so than say people wanted to go to Niger,
Yes.
right? And so Ghana will likely have to put in some kind of a monetary requirement. They may say you have to show this amount of money. You understand that you're able to invest in the economy if you want to repatriate to Ghana. No, it should not just be, a money thing. I'm thinking that if a person, let us say Ghana were to set a threshold of 100,000 US dollars
Yes.
as
Which
the
is
minimum.
steep. That rule out most of the Rastafari
Right. So that so
community right away.
a person who can do that,
Hmm.
right? Maybe they should be allowed. Such a person should be allowed then to bring in, let us say, five other people who can't meet that criteria.
Yes.
So something like that. So you don't want any one country just getting all of the people with the money,
And
to
then
invest.
and then everybody
Yeah,
has to go
yeah.
elsewhere.
Every right, the poor people go to another country. That's not what we're trying to achieve. Certainly not what we're trying to achieve. But we must be respectful of the various countries and their governments and whatever criteria they may put in place. There's a reason for it, and we must be mature and know that you can't just bomb rush a country without negative consequences. So it must be done in an orderly fashion, and there must be a criteria and some qualification. Now I know the ideological argument to say, well, we didn't pay to come and we shouldn't pay to go back, and why should a person have to apply to go to to return home? I know all of that philosophical argument, but the reality is that yes, there must be order to this thing.
Yeah, the
If it
governments have to
works,
be able to regulate because if anything happens to you, they have to
yes,
be able to account. You become
and
their responsibility if you become
yes,
indigent or you become poor on their
right.
land and you take up
And
their
and there's
resources in their hospitals.
absolutely
All of
there's
these things.
schools, the
Yeah, there's
light, the
yeah,
water,
yes,
all of these things. It must be accounted for. So and then there's another component to it. I don't know if you are aware of the Homeland Return Act that was being circulated about 2 years
yes,
ago.
yes.
While I
And
was not,
I actually had shared a draft with I.
yes,
That is one
right.
of the benefits of being in the I circle is that I get to be on the cutting edge of these things as well. So, but
Right.
continue.
Right. So while I was not the drafter of that document, when it was circulated, I certainly I made comments and
Yes,
gave tips as to what needs to be changed and what needs to be yeah, amendments and what things that we can strike and other things that we can bring in with it, which ought to be brought in. Now there was one provision where they talked about people with criminal conviction and how those people would not be, would not qualify for any benefits under the proposed um, rule. And so I had to draft something to say that, well, you do not want to just you don't want to disqualify a person based on a criminal conviction without first knowing the background, because some of the crimes that have been committed by black men in the West, it's economic crimes.
yes,
And so, when the system closes all legal avenues to you and you are forced to take an illegal route to provide for your family, and then later on you find that your arrest or your conviction is now disqualifying you from repatriation, it seems it seems it seems harsh, it seems cruel,
yes,
cruel irony, a cruel irony. And so, I wrote that as part of to explain why I've taken the position that I've taken. And one
yes,
of the things that I said was that marijuana should not be considered a drug for the purposes
yes,
of this act, right? Because
true.
they're saying like drug conviction, you can't,
Yes,
you're disqualified. And I'm saying for the purposes of this act, marijuana should not be considered a drug. That's the first thing,
Yes.
right? So we should differentiate between economic crimes and certain
Yes.
other types of crimes. A person can may even have
Agree.
robbed a bank, right? And let us look at the circumstances and allow for a waiver process. Just
Yes.
like in the United States, if you're trying to get a green card and you have some fraud issues, or you may have some criminal convictions or other things that disqualify you from the green card, there is a waiver that's available for a lot of convictions. So you
Yes.
can apply and you can explain your situation. Here is how I got involved in this situation. And we're all of us, we are better than our worst mistake, right?
Yes.
We're
Yes.
better than we are better than the worst thing we have ever done, right? And that should not be the sum total of your life and who you are. Now there are some other types of crimes that are very troubling, very disturbing, such as rape, child molestation, and things like that. And so the government would have a right to say, to give pause
Yes.
to
Of
people who
course.
have been convicted of certain types of crime.
Yes.
And so, that has to be worked out because then you start to wonder well, is there redemption or has there been any rehabilitation? Has the person changed? Can this person be trusted? Or, so forth and so on. Or should this person be disqualified from ever being able to repatriate at all to any African country? So these are some of the things that have to be worked out. But getting back to the economics of it, it takes money to buy land, to
Yes.
register the land, to clear the land, to build, and let me tell you, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to
And
be,
will they be able to get a job in Ghana?
oh no, you'll have to create your own. You will have to create your own
I
job.
want,
And it's
yes.
not, yes, yes, you will have to, and you shouldn't want to go to Ghana and get a job. You know what I'm saying? Unless maybe you're working for a foreign corporation or something like that, because you shouldn't want to be taking work away from the in, yes.
Indigenous,
Oh,
yes, our
yes,
indigenous
yes.
brothers and
We
sisters,
should be creating.
because
We should be creating employment
yes,
opportunities.
yes, underemployment is a real thing
Absolutely.
in on the continent. A lot of university students cannot find
Hmm.
work that generates money to sustain their families. So as Empress said, we should be really going there with the mindset of creating employment. And one of the things I hear from brethren is, anytime I go Africa, me now come forward, So, it's like they lock in, so they never get to go because they have in their mind that once they go, they're not coming back. And I try to really dispel people of this notion, because you need to investigate so you can set your plan in the West. The West still has an abundance of resources that are not available. We cannot go around that in terms of money making opportunities. The West has so many, where you can just find a job. So jump in a job in the West, get training programs. There are so many avenues to where you can build a skill set in the West that can really help you. Talk about this mindset of I'm only going to go one time,
Absolutely
and
not.
yes,
That's not a mature approach, right? We are older now. We know better. We're not teenagers. We're born this, born that. We cover born so many things, and we didn't build anything to replace it with. You
yes,
understand? Yes. So we're born this, born that, born mining, born all these type of things. So, all right, so tell us, give me the alternative. Show me how we can, because our people are suffering.
yes,
We need to go there and be a help and be a light, help the people around us. But I want to talk about that too a little bit, even in terms of
yes,
helping ourselves and each other. I
yes,
believe, my mother always said to me, my mother who passed away, 2 years now, at the age
yes.
of 97, she said to
Yes, yes.
me, she always said to me throughout my life, as her father had said to her, do all the good you can for as many people as you can for as long as you can.
Wow.
Help. That's the name of the game. And let me tell you something. I am living testimony that you cannot lose with kindness. You cannot lose. Even if the person to whom you've extended kindness and generosity, even if that person is not appreciative, Even if they're ungrateful, even if they spit in your face, you still have not lost. You
Yes.
have not lost because you know we have a responsibility towards each other. We as Rastafari, we claim that we are the moral conscience of the world. We are the people of equal rights and justice. Well, we have an obligation to help each other. So if I am doing a little bit better than you, Rasta, Kwasi, the Jazmat Kwasi, I have an obligation to help people who are not in the position to do what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
If they are responsible, people who are responsible, people who are serious, right? We need to lift each other up. We need to help each other to climb, to progress, economically, spiritually, in every way. We need to help each other socially, and I take that very seriously. I have a duty and a responsibility towards my brothers and sisters, and in as much as my mother ingrained that in me, it was also fortified by the culture, Bobo Shanti culture. It was fortified by that. Once again, as I said, we were forced to depend on each other. We were made to depend on each other. You understand? And to see, to work in unity with one another. And I'm glad I have held on to that. That is something that is the hallmark of my existence, to help
And
in,
and you've
in
helped so
whichever
many
way,
people
in whichever
quietly.
way. Yes,
Yes.
and in any way I can help. In any way I can help. If there's a need, I can help my enemy. I can help somebody I know who's bad mouthing me, who is trying to tear me down. I can still help that person because when I help that person, I'm helping myself and I'm helping my race. I
Yes.
talk to my yes, and I talk. Listen, we as sisters, Rastafari empresses, we bear a lot because a lot of times the brethren they misbehave, and some of them they misbehave terribly, and put us in some very bad position, leave us in some bad economic financial position, and the children too, without their parents. You cannot, a man cannot just go and repatriate and one time to Africa and never come back. What about your children? What about your woman? Or if you don't even have a woman, what about your children? We cannot repatriate without our children. We need to make provisions for them. You cannot abandon your family. The family is the building block. Talk about nation building. You can
Yes.
have no nation without children, without the mother, the father, the mother, and the children. That is the basis of any culture. And I know black women. We are maternal, so we tend to not leave our children. We can't. It's harder for a woman to leave her children, but brethren seem to do it with frequency and with such ease. We have to change that culture
Yes.
because we know it's not good.
And I think a lot of it is trauma. A lot of brethren grew up without a father, and these
Right.
now become generational curses. We're coming out of a plantation system where brethren were used as breeders, and the
Yes.
family was often torn from you. So that mentality, particularly in Jamaica and other Caribbean islands of fatherlessness and that trauma, we have to be the generation to break
British.
some of
And,
these.
and we claim and we claim to be woke. We say
Yes,
that we're conscious. We say that we're woke. So we
yes,
must know the benefit of having, two parents in a household. I mean, if you look at the statistics, 90% of black men in prison grew up without a father.
yes,
So, and we are at the bottom of every index of success. Black people fall at the bottom. They say 70% of black children are born in a single parent
yes,
household. Do you understand? That is what is killing us. That is
yes,
what is killing us, and we must listen. There are a lot of things, the jazz match, that that's outside of our control because we
yes,
know the systemic racism that exists and how it operates and how each part of the system, so it works in sync with every other part of the system to keep us in a certain position, to keep us subordinated, to keep us oppressed, to keep us marginalized, to keep us from progressing. But there are other things that are within our control, and those things are our ability or willingness to take care of our children.
yes.
We cannot abandon our children. And I cannot state it enough. That is a recipe for disaster. And if you fail at parenting, nothing else matters.
That
We
is,
must take parenting seriously. We must not leave our children. We must
yes.
not leave them to think that they're not, they're worthless. They're no good, because if I'm a child and my parents have left me, I'm wondering what's wrong with me.
What's
I'm
wrong with
wondering
you?
why that my parents didn't love me enough to be with me, to stay with me. Now I know people make the argument, oh, Marcus Garvey, this and the work took him away from his family, whatever. Well, of all the messages that Marcus Garvey thought sent or was sending, or the philosophy that he imparted, abandoning your family was not one of them.
No.
I can assure you, that was never his intent to make light. If you have to leave your family, you leave them. You know,
No.
yeah, and you just get up and you just move. No such thing. You damage your children. You scar them psychologically, mentally, emotionally.
Yeah,
A lot
man.
of our children are suffering from that.
Yes.
And we need to take the burden them to heal. We need to bring them. One of the things I was saying to the Women's Commission of the Rastafari Council of Ghana is that I don't know if we can set up some kind of a program wherein we can reconnect brethren. And I say brethren because I said most women are not going to leave their children. You
Yes.
understand me? That is almost non-existent. So to reconnect brethren and their children, brethren on the continent with their children back in the way. We need the healing. We need that healing. We need to, there, children are suffering.
I can
Children are
imagine.
suffering. And I urge the empresses to be strong and to step in where you need to step in. And we have been doing that. Empresses have been doing that throughout the ages. You understand? But we also must be very careful who we bring into our household.
Yes.
Another thing for as empresses. So if you and your king man are no longer together, or he has gone off, or whatever, empresses, I'm not telling anyone to stay in an unhappy relationship or in an abusive relationship. But we need to weigh our options very, very carefully and the choices that we make. All right? And that it may seem like I'm putting a heavier burden on empresses, and maybe I am. But here's the thing: we have to be strong. You
Yes.
understand? No matter what the man is doing, you don't jump in and say, "Oh yeah, he's doing it, I'm gonna do it too." Don't do that. We're better than that. We're up, and my virtue and my morality is not dependent on what my husband is doing, what my kingman is doing, what John Brown is doing. What
Hmm.
It's not dependent on that. My virtue and my morality, it stands as mine. You understand? And children can't even bear the thought. Children don't even like to consider the idea of their parents getting intimate, let
Yes.
alone another man getting intimate with their mother.
Yes.
You understand? You have to live your life in a way that your children can respect you. You
I
understand?
I
And there's
talk a
a double
lot.
standard. There's a double
Yes.
standard. Granted,
No.
I know that.
No.
And now,
I
listen to me. Listen to me. It is not fair to us. But you know what? Somebody has to steer the ship.
yes.
If one person, the weaker your husband is, your kingman is the stronger you have to be. Somebody has to steer the ship and keep it on course. And if we have to make that sacrifice, we will make it. We must make it for the benefit of our children. My sons they have no, listen, their father and I were apart for a number of years. They have
Mhm.
never seen me with another man. You understand me? They have no secrets for me. The last time I beat my son, my eldest son, he was 21. And he's tall. I'm 5'20", he's 6'2". And so I had to jump on, I had to climb on a chair and then jump on his back to slap him in his face, right? And I can do that because he has no secrets for me. He can't turn around and tell me anything. The most thing he can say to me is, "Mommy, you went jump on people back there, going to lose weight." Um, and at that time I was even big. At the time I was quite small, about 10 pounds. But you can say to me, "Mommy, you want to do this?" You understand? I can speak to my son. I can pull them up. I can correct them. I
Yes.
can
Because
chastise them.
they saw you live the life of a
I have
virtuous
lived a
woman.
certain life. I live to see the just much pussy. I
Mm.
live to see my husband stand up and look at me and say, "Are you make me know said God truly exists in the flesh.
Wow. We give thanks.
Yeah, he said, you make me know that God truly exists in the flesh.
Give thanks.
That's
Give
what he has
thanks.
said to me.
And you say that to the sister in them on this channel. I can tell you, Empress Marina. I talk to the brethren them about sexual discipline. I talk to them about, making sure that we are building strong families, about vetting,
Yes,
your queen, and not sharing space with just any woman because she's fat and she's sexy, and a lot of reasons that are put out there from brethren. Um, we have to have a certain discipline. Worse right now, the Armageddon is upon us. The global reset is being unfolded. We saw what was happening with COVID-19. One time, if we say the whole world are gonna lock down, like the elders said, people say you're crazy. We live and witness the entire world shut down. No air travel to whole parts of the planet. You couldn't get no plane in or out. We saw these things. So right now is not a time to be gallivanting on a gal parade, out there as brethren. So I'm very, very clear. I don't like to come across as preaching, but I can share recommendation as a brethren who has been married for 16 years, celebrate 16-year anniversary, but I've been with my queen over 20 years without interruption, 16 years of marriage on paper. So I feel like now I can talk, I have some qualification, and my youth them are here under one roof. Give thanks to the Most High. I'm growing with my youth them. And I said to the brethren who are married, because I know a lot of brethren who are married and holding the family orders, that we have to be more vocal, because oftentimes is the single brethren them or the entertainers that are putting out this image of Rastafari as promiscuous, as any type of girl we're gonna just be intimate. And so a lot of these children that are being created in unstable, chaotic, lustful environments, and then it create that breakdown, and we're unable to build the nation and to build Zion, which is our calling. Our calling is to continue the work that His Majesty started and established. So I'm glad you said that to the queens, but I when I hear the sister them say that we have to, be the thing, it bring up that male side of me where say, no man, we have to step up. I don't like here the empress them or the princesses or the queens them have to feel like them have to take this thing on them shoulder by themselves, As a man, I have to talk to my brethren and say, no, we have to
absolutely.
step up,
Yes, my Lord, we have to do the right thing. Listen to me. If we claim to be who we say we are, we have because your word is your bond, your word will condemn you.
Words on our
We have
power.
taken that, yes, we have taken a certain stand in the world, then we must live up to it, even when it is difficult, even when it is painful. We must live up to our principles. You understand? And I like the empresses have been doing a wonderful job. You understand? For the most part. You understand? The women, we hold ourselves. We carry ourselves with dignity, regal. You understand me? We're not here with this one. And listen to me, I live my life in total rejection of the stereotype that they have created of the black woman, like loose. She do
Yes.
this one, she have how much children, five, how much different baby father, and she's on welfare. I live my life in complete contrast to that, in opposition to that. I am devoted to my race. I am devoted to the liberation of the black race, of black people. And I will make any sacrifices necessary to that end. And if it means that I listen, this is Chinese, Chinese women, Chinese parents, they will live a joyless life in a hovel to send their kids to MIT and to Harvard. They're not just doing it for themselves, I'm doing it for my child, they're doing it for their race. So in everything that we do, you're doing it not just for your children, not just for your immediate family, but for the Rastafari family and for the entire black race. Carry yourself so that I remember when a brethren in Ghana see me and he heard my husband and I talking. You're the one I first went to Ghana.
Yes.
And he said to me, Empress, all of the bubble after them still like you? And I say, yes, my Lord, we all live to the same principle. We live to utmost principles. You I was happy to say that. I was very proud to say that I have lived a life that is exemplary and that it has not brought shame, has not brought reproach. I'm sorry, I'm going to just has not brought shame or reproach to my children, to my family, to my husband, to the Boba Shanti house, or
Yes.
to the or to Rastafari culture.
And I can
So
I
I'm proud
can
to say that.
I can testify that DI has been exemplary. DI is one of the ones that I look up to. In my tribe, we all need inspiration, and I tell DI this privately, so I can tell DI publicly that DI is someone who is inspiring to I as a young attorney. Well, not so young anymore, but as a younger attorney, the eye is one of the inspiration when I was looking at the landscape of who are the other Rastafari attorneys. To know that the eye was there and present, is a great inspiration for Iman. I see a question here. Did we hear about the president of Kenya offering dual citizenship to black people? Are you familiar with that, Empress Marina?
Right. Well, what I heard, the little that I know, I'm not intimately familiar with the situation, but that he was talking about waiving, breaking down the visa requirement.
Okay.
I don't know if he has gone so far as to say that he would be, handing out citizenship, just like that on a large scale. I'm not aware.
Not aware of that. So, but give thanks for the questions, and you can put your questions. We're going to wrap up shortly. If we were paying for the time, we couldn't afford it. It's a big high power attorney in New York City. So we give thanks for the time that we're being granted. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and we will ask them. So, in terms of Ghana, talk to us about what the climate is like. We talked about Ghana being oversubscribed for some people who have not been there to experience what the energy is like right now in Accra and in Ghana with we talk about repatriation, we talk about the return, but in Ghana, we're actually living and seeing it, meaning you will go to the mall in Ghana and you hear a UK accent, you hear an American accent, you hear a Caribbean accent. These are all black people me I talk about, and you're walking through and you're seeing all of these different people converging. Talk to us about your experience and what is happening in Ghana for
Very,
those who have not
it's
been.
very exciting. You meet people from all over, as you've stated, and it is good that we get together. A lot of socializing goes on in the diaspora community. Various birthday parties or you know festivals, meetings, just get-togethers, so forth and so on. And so we're constantly interacting. As I said, you usually need a vehicle to get around because it is extremely difficult if you have to rely on public transportation. It's not always very safe. And yeah, for that reason alone, it's not always very safe. The churches, a lot of times they are not well maintained. You understand? And accidents, those types of accidents, you know, um, are not uncommon,
Yes.
and people have lost their lives in that way. So it is good, and you should purchase your vehicle while you are in the West and earning Western money. Because if you think you're going to leave everything until you get there, you're going to be very frustrated. So certain things you must start, planning for here in the West. What I want to urge the daughters, because a lot of times we are better at money management than our king man, and so I want to urge the daughters to save, work, save, invest, right? Because you're going to need money to repatriate when the time comes. And listen to me, start wherever you are. Don't think you don't make enough money, you don't have enough money to save. Saving is a habit. It's a habit. And it was instilled in us when we were in school in Jamaica, right? You used to have every Friday, you had to go pay, put your money in, you had a little book, like a passbook, and they note how much you're saving. Thrift, thrift, yes, was was instilled in us. And so let us continue with that, right? Start with $1 a day, right? A little shoebox, in a little box, and just every day you come in, you drop $1. Or if you don't want to do it like that, you do $10 for 10 days, and you mark it off of a little calendar. Keep check to make sure that $1 a day. If that's what you can afford, start with that. If you can do more, $2. If you can do $5 a day, $10 a day, you do that. But learn to save and teach that to your children as well. The benefits of saving, the virtue of saving, and because we're consumers. Our children are consumers, and we need to lead them away from that. They want to wear this brand and that brand and all. That's part of the trap. That is part of the trap to keep us here and to keep us just living blindly, without consciousness and buying all kind of foolishness, name brand this and name brand that. No, our money can be better spent, save, so we can come together as an investment group and invest, do some serious investment. That's what we need to do. We need to start working with each other. We need to start trusting
Yes.
each other. We need to start being fair to one another. What I find, and it's sad to say, a lot of charlatans, a lot of people who are just professional, denial, and looking to separate you from your money. So we need to stamp out that mentality from among us and try to and be honest with each other, be fair and just with each other, and learn to work together. As I said, repatriation, it takes a lot of planning and it takes a lot of money, and you're going to need. What I recommend too is that maybe even families from here, maybe two families, can get together and decide that they're going to repatriate, and this way they can split, cost and expense, because you're going to have to travel there to check out certain things. You can't
Yes.
just leave it all, for one time. And the sisters, just want the brothers to know that in as much as you have not always there is a disconnect between the promise and the performance. We still love our Rastafari brethren because they have taken a bold stand in the world, and it's not easy. You understand? It is not easy to stand up to the system, a system that constantly beats you down. But you have our support. You have the support of us, your sisters, your mothers, your daughters, your wives. You have our support, and we are willing to help you in whichever way that you need help, and that you recognize that you need help, because the culture is not, it's not performing up to its it's not meeting its mandate.
Yes.
It is
The
not meeting its
standard, the
mandate.
standard. We have to rise the standard right
Yes.
now.
You understand?
Loosey goosey. I call it the loosey goosey.
Yeah, and if you're sleeping with your brethren woman, just sleeping with a married woman, you don't understand your calling. You do not understand your mandate. You do not understand your objective. And if you're sleeping with a married man, you do not understand. You don't understand the objective. You don't understand the calling. You don't understand what we need to do to achieve liberation. We need discipline. There's a speech many years ago, and this may not, I don't know. Some people may find this example, off-putting. But Queen Elizabeth, as a young woman, she said, she made a pledge. She said, I devote my whole life, whether it be long or short, to the Commonwealth, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
I heard when I as an adult, when I heard that speech, I said, okay. So she's devoting her whole life to white supremacy, and I'm going to devote my whole life to black supremacy,
Hmm.
right? We know that she is the head of wickedness, that the royal family of England, they
Hmm.
represent, they are the personification of evil. They
Hmm.
are the representation of black people's oppression.
Hmm.
But I'm going to tell you something. It's the discipline with which that woman carried out it. Do you see the resolve and the discipline and the commitment?
Hmm.
Listen, you hear her husband name call up in a this womanizing and all kind of things. You have never heard her name. She lived her life with dignity, and we must do the same. We can't make her be more virtuous than us.
No, and
You
I love
understand?
that. I
So
love, I
we
love,
are the original queen.
I love that challenge that you extend
We are
to
the
our.
original queen. We are the true queen. You
Hmm.
understand? So our name
Right.
mustn't call a certain way either.
And if we solve these familial problems, we're going to find that the economics, the community will flourish,
Absolutely.
because those small familial problems, those broken homes, this is why we cannot build institutions, because the trauma and the flight or fight response, people either abandon the institutions or they fight all the time in the institution and no work get done. So we're seeing these trauma responses preventing us from moving forward. Why don't we have a Rastafari school? Why don't we have a Rastafari health center that is number one on the continent? Why don't we have a Rastafari bank or a Rastafari credit union or a all of these different institutions that make up a solid, sustainable community? We cannot really point to say that we have a functional model. We have ones that are doing the work in different capacities. However, we do not have, a fully Rastafari institution employing Rastafari people for the benefit of Rastafari. And this is because, again, these broken homes, the trauma, we cannot absolve the state and the persecution that we faced for so many years with cannabis. Give thanks that is, because we were created as a criminal part of society because of our sacrament and our association, and now give thanks that's lifting that stumbling block. However, even if cannabis is free all around the world, if our family structures are not solid, we won't even benefit from the cannabis legalization, which we should be generating billions of dollars. And we're working on things behind the scenes, but we'll get to that in other episodes. We'll be bringing people on the front line. I want to just thank Empress Marina. I have here longer than I anticipated. Like I said, I give thanks for her time, for her sage advice. This is someone I call for wise counsel in reference to Ghana. Our Kingman has assisted our family in our process as we transition. We definitely will see her on this channel as we evolve the channel, as we build the platform. We definitely will be bringing her forward. Before I go, though, I cannot leave without talking about briefly the Haile Selassie Foundation for Law and Society. Myself, Empress Marina, the Chasmatch George, Ross Marcus Goff. We had Elder Ross Miguel Lorne. We've reached out to other attorneys, had established a 501c3 nonprofit, the Haile Selassie Foundation for Law and Society. We're not as active as we would like to be. However, we have done a lot of consultation in the community. A lot of time it goes unheeded, from that time, which is also part of it. But just talk about the importance of the foundation of us coming together as Rastafari attorneys, and how some of the things that we aspire to moving forward.
Well, first, I am, I feel privileged to be among, Rastafari attorneys, the I, and as you said, the Jasmus George, Ras Marcos, and, Ras Miguel, although he is not as active as in the
Yes.
organization as we would like, but we
Yeah.
know that he has, all sorts of demands on his time. But we appreciate him when he does come forward, when he does come on.
Yes.
To be sure, we could be doing more, and we should be doing more. But the reality is that we are all we all have obligation, that we have to meet on a daily basis, and it does not afford us a lot of time for much else. Because the practice of law is very demanding, very draining. When you're done for the day, you just feel mashed up.
Reality.
And yeah, and then you have your other, household duties. I mean, I don't have any small children, but I do have my grandchildren who who come over from time to time, and I spend time with, when I'm here. And that's another role too. That's a whole another role too that we have to play. If we have fallen short with our own children, let's try to, jump in and see if we can't, you know, make some amends, and with our grandchildren we have a role to play as grandparents. We have a role to play. Not you. You're much too young for that. But anyway, let's get back to the yes. Let's get back to the Haile Selassie the first Foundation for Law and Society. The mission is noble, and the intention is good, and it is necessary for our community so that we can weigh in on issues, legal issues that affect us. For example, Queen Mother Moses is always trying to stir the fire under us. She said that we have been lying dormant for too long, and
Yes.
she now has an issue that she wants to bring to us, and she'll be bringing it to us in the next few days, and she's going to
Yes.
want a quick turnaround on it. Mother Moses does not stay. Yeah, she is. Let me tell
Yeah,
you, she's one of the
man.
most energetic,
Big up Queen
the,
Mother. She was in
the
the comments
most
earlier, so
the
big up.
most energetic person. I cannot keep up with her. I get whiplash. I get whiplash.
I always ask her, where in the world is the
Where is your life?
idea?
Yes,
That's my first question because
absolutely.
yeah, man,
Let me tell you something. Her energy is boundless. But
there's no
yes, so
Rastafari that move more than Queen Mother
tell me
Moses.
another one this.
No,
Goodness.
not even
So
close.
yes. So we want to get active again. The HSSFLS will get active again. That is our aim. That's our objective. That's our goal. We're going to get active again. We're going to find a way to get to become more active, because I'm probably going to be winding down in my practice because my children will be taking over.
Yeah, talk about your children, because your children are all successful now, adults in their own right. Just
Right.
talk about, because I think that's important in terms of the legacy of Empress Marina Blake and Jabi, the accomplishments of your children. That's one of the things that I'm so impressed with, because I aspire for my own children. I have two teenagers now. But talk about just quickly your children and their professions.
Right. So we have two lawyers, right? My eldest son is an attorney, and my daughter is also an attorney, and she works closely with me. And as I said to you earlier, we were off the record that she is my right arm. I could not. She has taken the practice to another level. They come in with their new ideas and innovation, innovativeness, and I am very very bad when it comes to technology. I am an
Yes,
absolute yes. I'm awesome. And she always said to me, "You're too lazy, mommy. You don't want to." She said, "Because I resist technology at every turn." She said, "You're just too lazy. You need to pay more attention. I'm not always going to be here to do this for you and do that for you." So, but listen, she's a whip. She's a crackerjack. She's a crackerjack. When it comes, I'm telling you, I'm impressed by her. And even in the building of the house in Ghana, because
yes,
we're constructing up in the mountain.
yes.
Before she came to law, she was in architectural engineering
Okay.
before she switched to law. And so she's able to give all of this, advice to the contractor. And every time she go there, he said, don't leave," because she's so useful. And
Wow.
she can see. She has the vision. She can see the things that I cannot see. But she said she gets that from her father, who we're very creative. That he's the one who drafted up the initial plan for the house. My
Okay.
husband. Yes. So she gets that from her father. So and she and he they're very close, and he relies on her too. He relies on her for advice and so forth and so on. So yes, I'm very very proud of her, as I am of us the other children too. As I said, two lawyer. I have one son who works for. I'm not going to say the name of the it's a big
Yeah,
very
don't
big
worry. Yeah.
investment house that he
Yes.
works for as a financial analyst. I
Okay.
have engineer,
Okay.
and another one who is very much business oriented. He had started some clothing line before, but that has since gone defunct, and he's now working on some kind of an app. Yeah, yeah. So yes. So I'm and I thank the Almighty that He has been so good to me and so merciful to me. Um, you know that my children have all you know they've all done well. I want them now to be more, in as much as they are woke and conscious, I need them to be more committed to Rastafari culture, And there are a lot of things that, as I said, they find objectionable about it. And so these are some of the things that we, as the elders, need to sit down and talk about and address, and and see, how we can address some of the disconnects,
Yes.
because there are a lot of disconnects, and we need to
Lot of
admit that.
disconnect. I'm going to
Yeah.
be doing a whole series on second generation Rastafari, because this is something that across the board is facing us, and even myself, my children don't seem very interested. Although we do so much works in the community. My daughter was sanctified at the Scott Pass Nyabingi Center. My
Yeah.
youths grew up going Nyabingi, but they're on their devices and they don't, they're not attracted to what they see, no matter
I
how
know
much we instill. So we have a lot of work to do in
work to
terms of
do.
building infrastructure, and we can either put our head in the sand like an ostrich, which is not an option, or we have to face it like the lion and lionesses that we
Yes.
claim to be, and come up with some solutions. So I'll be doing a whole series of streams where we talk to second generation Rastafari, the children of Rastafari, to find out, what we can be doing so that, we can, as we build and as we plan the future, we're not excluding their voices, because we can do what we think is right, but unless we have the conversations with them, we're not going to really know how to address these situations. So as we look to seal up, I just want I to let the ones them know how to get in contact, because they'll be ones who look at this and have immigration issues, and they want representation. So let ones know how they can get in contact with the I. I also commit that to visit Empress Marina next time I see her in Ghana, so we can show, with your permission, some of the development that the I has done there, so ones can see firsthand the house and the development that's happening. My land is about 10 minutes from where Empress Marina is building by vehicle. So we're both up in the mountain. So we'll be not quite next door neighbors, but we'll be very close, which is a dream of Iman from them time days, is to really be close to Empress Marina and Jabi. So I definitely will commit to bring some of that footage next time I'm in Ghana. But let the people know how they can get in contact with the I for legal work, and also, particularly the types of matters that you are dealing with or that you're accepting right now.
Right. So we have a plethora of work. I can tell you that. And so we don't even advertise. I have not
Okay.
advertised in years, because word of mouth. Most of my clients come to me from, referrals from other people, past clients, and that's
Yes.
how. And I'm telling you, they're keeping us on our toes. And I want to retire soon.
So that's a
Um,
nice way to say that you don't even want people contact you. If you know, if you know, you know then. So that shows you that Empress Marina is doing very well. Um, the reputation precedes her. So please give us some final word sound then to the sister in them, to the brethren them, in terms of repatriation, in terms of, as Rastafari, what do we need to be doing right now to face the next decade or so that's coming.
well, right, let us get our houses in order, right? Our family structure. Let's address those things. Let us help people who are having struggle. Those of us who are having problems within our family structure. You know, the community should have some type of resource, I believe, to assist families, helping them to stay together. It's not easy. It is absolutely not easy. The pressures of life are just so, they're just too many. Um, and it can break the strongest people. So that we need to unify. We need to yes, we need to unify. Work in unity with one another to help each other, strengthen each other. Where I am weak, you help me up, and where you are weak, I help you up. That's the kind of mindset that we need to have. And you don't have to love a person. Here's what you have to do. You have to love black people. You have
Hmm.
to love your race. That is all it takes, you know. You can you can dislike a person next to you, a black person, because you're not going to love a black person. You can dislike a person, but you know you have a commitment to your race. You need to love your race. You only need to love your race, and that love of your race will drive you to do the right thing in every circumstance. You can see a person beside you falling, and that person is not your friend. That person may even be your enemy, but that's a black person, and you must help them if you can.
Hmm.
And so we need that commitment to one another, you know, to say no matter what, we're not leaving this thing. No matter what, we are not going to turn on each other. No matter what, we are not going to allow ourselves to be divided. You must, if you love the black race as you say you do, then that is the attitude that you must take. You know, recommit yourself to the mission, to the cause, to the culture, to your people. Let's you know it can be done. Let us live this thing out. Let us show that we were not fools, that we were not stupid, that there is in fact redemption in Rastafari.
Isis, beautiful. I could not have said it better. Ladies and gentlemen, brethren and sistren, we have here one of the shining examples within our Rastafari Liberty. This platform, the Lion Voice Network, these are the type of voices and why I felt it was so important. I tell people all the time, my superpower is my network. I've been able to amass a vast network of powerful individuals. So when I hear all of the negative and the naysayers about Rastafari and the doom and gloom, I can't identify because I know so many brilliant Rastafari that are working diligently on the front line. I don't get involved with the mix up. Um, that doesn't mean that we don't critique the culture because we are not a yes man to the culture or to anything. We follow the teachings of His Imperial Majesty. We give honor and glory to Empress Menen as His chosen queen. And we seek to live Rastafari in all that we do. So when I say that the time has come for the lions to tell their stories, because you know most platforms we're not going to hear these type of conversations happening, and we have to have the conversation to spark so that other Rastafari. We have a brethren here that said he's checking in from St. Vincent. Big up yourself, brethren. He said that he saw the Priest Isaac show, and that the eye is very fiery, you know. So it must show the joy, and that's one of the things I love about being online is being able. You know, I can't sit on the corner and burn a chalice with a brethren in this hour, but I can set up using the technology, and we can reach brethren and sisters all over the world, and have that same groundation that made Rastafari strong. So I want to thank the Empress Marina from the top, middle, center, bottom of my heart, the whole heart beat for the I accepting the invitation to come on the Lion Voice Network and add your voice to the powerful sistren. I'm hoping I can raise, you know, if you're a sistren watching this, please subscribe. I only have less than 3% of sistren viewership, so we need to get up to 40% at least. Please, I beg you, help me out. I'm going to make sure I bring the sister voice on this platform. So please, you know, follow the journey. This is not just going to be a talk shop. We're going to show the evolution. Empress, I tell people that Rastafari best years were not in the 70s. They were not in the 80s or the 90s. They are ahead of us. The glory that is coming. You know, now is the time to, you know, if you're out there, if you've been dormant, perfecting your craft, now is the time to connect again with brethren and sisters. This is the portal. We're going to bring it to you live in living color. Why me say that? I say that because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the lion's voice. Bless it.
people lion voice. Tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.